Security at a premium as G20 leaders descend on the Italian capital, where a traditional presence of activists and protesters are demanding an end to vaccine inequities and greater ambition on climate change, as the UN chief again warns of a deficit of trust.
If we want real success and not just a mirage, we need more ambition and more action. And that will only be possible with a massive mobilization of political will. And that requires trust among the key actors. And today, trust is in short supply. There are serious questions of credibility. We see dangerous levels of mistrust among the big powers, among members of the G20, between developed and developing countries, including emerging economies. And so the most important objective of this G20 Summit must be to re-establish trust by tackling the main sources of mistrust, rooted in injustices, inequalities, and geopolitical divides.
Guterres highlighted 3 fronts to bridge the divide, addressing vaccine inequity as he pushes the G20 to lead a global vaccination plan to reach everyone, everywhere. He wants the G20 to extend the debt service suspension initiative beyond 2021 and make it available to all highly indebted, vulnerable and middle-income countries that request it. And third, a call for greater ambition on mitigation to get the world on a credible path to the 1.5-degree benchmark for global temperature rise.
This requires concrete action now to reduce global emissions by 45% by 2030. G20 countries have a particular responsibility to keep the 1.5-degree goal alive, as they represent about 80% of emissions. According to the principle of common but differentiated responsibilities in light of national circumstances, developed countries must lead the effort. But given the present situation, emerging economies too must go the extra mile to achieve effective global emissions reductions in this decade. We need maximum ambition from all countries on all fronts.
International Relations Minister Naledi Pandor will lead the South African delegation, with President Cyril Ramaphosa in the midst of campaigning for the local government elections. The leaders of Russia and China expected to join the summit remotely, while US President Joe Biden is already in Rome.
The capacity to recycle special drawing rights from the International Monetary Fund to help emerging economies be able to deal with the immense fiscal burden that COVID-19 has inflicted on them. And we're looking forward to having a strong and ambitious statement on that. The second is debt relief, forms of debt relief that we want all of the G20 countries to sign on to together, and the United States will be pressing for that in Rome at the leaders' level. And then third and finally, when it comes to climate, on both the adaptation and the transition and mitigation side, President Biden stood up at the UN General Assembly and said, we are going to double our commitment to international climate finance to help less developed countries be able to make this transition effectively. We think that is an effective and very affirmative way for us to contribute to the problem.
Developments in Afghanistan and Haiti, discussions on a global minimum corporate tax rate, and global supply chain constraints also on the agenda. The G20 bloc of countries represent 80% of global gross domestic product, 60% of the world's population, and an estimated 80% of global greenhouse gas emissions. And a summit that comes at a time of major cross-cutting challenges, framed as a make-or-break moment where G20 leadership in resolving them will be key. And a powerful group of countries called on to demonstrate in a tangible way the solidarity that people want and that the world so desperately needs. Sherman Briceby's SABC News, New York.